Exchange function also includes assembling. So sometimes you don't get the raw material needed to manufacture the product, and therefore marketers are totally dependent on getting the raw materials and components where it is easily available, and those components are now put together to make a finished product, right? So it's important to note that assembly and purchasing are two different processes. Assembling occurs after goods have been produced. We are not talking about assembling of raw materials. You don't assemble raw materials. You buy raw materials to create a finished product. But here, what you're doing in assembling is you're already buying a product, right, which is partly ready. So buying primarily involves transfer of ownership of products. In assembling, what happens? You're creating an inventory of goods acquired from various sources. And in most cases, these goods are bought from different vendors and they are assembled in one location, which is under the control of the buyer. Now, Toyota has their manufacturing unit in our city itself in Bangalore. So what Toyota does, it does not manufacture anything in its factory in Bangalore. It does only assembling. So the engine comes from Europe or it comes from Japan, from two major suppliers. The tires are supplied by somebody else. Toyota does not manufacture tires. The seats are supplied by somebody else. The infotainment system inside the car, that is also not made by Toyota. It is supplied by somebody else. Right? Now you see all the components in Toyota factory in Bangalore, they are not manufactured. They are only procured from different vendors. What happens in the factory is only the assembly functions. So all these components are put together and finally the final product emerges out from the factory. So as a result, you should remember that buying and assembling are two different operations. Right? Now, for example, when it comes to mobile phone, do remember that essentially all of the major components for making a smartphone are obtained from China, with only final assembly taking place in India. Even though you might see all this Indian players and all these mobile phone companies, they say, no, we are making in India, we are this, we are that. It's all mere an eyewash. It's not make in India. The most important component required for making a mobile phone is three items. All these three are important components. One is the chipset, second is the memory, and third is the display. All these three are not made in India at all. All these three components primarily comes from either China, Korea or Taiwan. In India, these components are never made. So most of the mobile phone companies, what they do is they do assembly function in their factories. Whether it is Xiaomi, whether it is Samsung, whether it is Micromax, which is trying to prove that it is a very patriotic company being born in India and it is trying to fool its consumers, right? So even though Micromax might capitalize on the kind of unrest which exists between China and India and try to say that, okay, no, this is not a Chinese phone, it's an Indian phone, it's an Indian company. But please do ask Micromax that even Micromax is also dependent on certain components which comes from outside India. Right? So most of the mobile phone companies do perform assembly function. So assembly function is totally different from buying and selling. So that's the point which I wanted to make. So these are some of the exchange related functions. So exchange related functions, in simple words, facilitates transfer of ownership from the buyer to the seller. And pricing plays an important role in this exchange function. Now what comes next is the function which actually is essential to facilitate exchange function itself. Now when we say supply chain function, what happens in supply chain? First of all, what is the supply chain? So supply chain is responsible for managing the complete flow of goods and services in order to enhance quality, customer satisfaction, and profitability. Well, that seems to be the goals of supply chain management. But what is important is supply chain management begins with procurement of raw material and ends with delivery of finished goods or the finished product to the customers. So this point is extremely important, which is worth noting down, that supply chain includes all the processes from the point of origin to the point of sale, from procuring raw material to giving or to sell a finished product to the customer. All the steps involved in this are part of supply chain management. So what are the different activities under your supply chain management? So these are the activities. So these activities includes your transportation, storage, retailing, stock management, standardization, right? So these are the various activities of supply chain management. Of course, distribution is also a part of supply chain management, wherein the product moves from the point of manufacturing to the point of consumption. So all the activities involved in the point of from the point of manufacturing to the point of consumption is called distribution. So distribution is actually the bridge that connects producer and consumer. So I did tell you what forms the basically distribution channels involves different intermediaries. So in order to market the products efficiently, right, you do need channel intermediaries. You have to be dependent on retailers, wholesalers, distributors, agents, and this can be online also. Flipkart is also an intermediary, right? When mobile phone companies are selling through Flipkart's platform, Flipkart becomes an intermediary. So whether it is a physical or virtual, this intermediaries do play an important role in ensuring that the product reaches the customer. Right? So that is something which is worth noting down. Now, in order to facilitate this, the role of transportation is extremely important. So in marketing, the success of distribution network, how the product reaches from supplier to manufacturer, manufacturer to the distributor, distributor to the wholesaler, wholesaler to the retailer. In all this process, transportation plays an important role. And of course, marketing totally depends on a cost-effective and efficient transportation system. The availability of resources required by different industries for manufacturing, such as labor, raw material, right? It is not concentrated in one area. The raw material needed, let's say I'm a company in Karnataka and I make a certain product for which the raw material is not in Karnataka. The raw material primarily comes from Jammu and Kashmir. So in order to get that raw material from there to my factory, I depend on transportation. Right? Let's say, even though I'm based in Bangalore, but most of the employees who work in my factory, they come from Chennai, they come from Mysore. So in order to get those employees to my factory, again, I'm dependent on transportation. So the bottom line is that the availability of resources required by industry for manufacturing, such as labor, raw material, is not, it is spread across, or it is concentrated in certain geographic regions. Now, in order to access them, you need transportation. So transportation is required for integrating these resources. So transportation primary goal is to increase the value of product by creating place and time utility. So place utility refers to delivering the product at a place where the customer wants it. And time utility refers to delivering the product to the customer at the time what he prefers to have the product. Right? Now, to give you an example as to how this time and place utility works, it's very simple. Right? Domino's. Does Domino's create place utility? The answer is yes. Domino's creates place utility by opening its branches across geographic regions, making sure that the customer has access and the product is available at different locations. Time utility, how does Domino's create? Domino's creates time utility by ensuring that the customer gets a product when he requires it. Customer needs the product in 15 minutes, in 30 minutes. So does Domino's creates the time utility? Because time utility is very important. One of the reasons why still e-commerce is not catching up with your, or we would rather put it across in this way. One limitation of e-commerce is the time utility. We all like buying on Flipkart, Amazon, Myntra, Swiggy, right? All these channels are preferred, especially by us, especially by the educated segment of customers, right? Even in rural areas, people are loving online shopping, right? Because it reaches every nook and corner of the country with ease. Only limitation is the time taken. A lot players are working on one-day delivery. Amazon is working on one-day delivery concept. Flipkart also has that fast delivery concept. But is it really possible to get the product the way we get in a shop? That means I go to a shop, I pay money, I get the product. So time taken is, the time utility here is instantaneous. I pay, I get. Can we have such a concept in e-commerce? Can e-commerce create time utility? Time utility means giving the product to the customer when he wants it. Of course, it's quite difficult. It's not like what we get to see in sci-fi movies. It's not possible that the customer clicks a button on the mouse or on the phone and a virtual hand pops out of the screen to deliver the product. That is not going to happen. But yes, of course, there are significant improvements that have taken place in the technology, and the transportation seems to have definitely improved. In fact, Amazon has successfully test launched one of its services that will completely transform the way the product is delivered and the duration within which the product is delivered. So Amazon is definitely strongly considering creating place and time utility more accurately, right? So the question is simple. Can online shopping delivery be done in less than 30 minutes? Amazon has a question. And Amazon has an answer to this question. And the answer is Amazon is coming up with a concept called click to deliver. Click to deliver, which means you click what you want and the product is delivered to your house at your doorstep. This service is called Amazon Prime Air. Amazon Prime Air. And especially in case of e-commerce, transportation plays an important role in creating place and time utility, because e-commerce organization totally depend on efficient transportation system to ensure timely delivery of goods. So what happens is, in case of Amazon Air, it's like a futuristic delivery system that uses an autonomous aerial vehicles. In simple language, they are called drones. So Amazon will be delivering the product through drones in 30 minutes. And Prime Air has the ability to improve the speed of the package delivery with improved safety and efficiency standards. So in US, they have already got approval to use Amazon Prime Air, which uses drones to deliver the product to the customer location. So very soon it will become a reality wherein you click and the product is at your doorstep. So transportation can do wonders. It is very important when it comes to supply chain. Transportation plays an important role. Now, apart from transportation, you also have warehousing. So demand for the product is not the same throughout the year. It keeps fluctuating. So you need to create a system wherein you are in a position to deliver the product whenever the demand is high. So it's not possible to manufacture the product the moment the demand is high, but you have to create warehousing facilities. So warehousing is a process of storing and preserving the products until they are delivered to customers. So warehousing is an important aspect of marketing because this tries to safeguard the quality and quantity of products being stored. And the whole purpose of warehousing is to compensate for the time difference that occurs between product being manufactured and product being sold, right? So this gap is being compensated by the warehousing because there is a gap between product production and consumption. So this gap is taken care by the warehousing facility. So warehousing also plays an important role. Then comes your retailing. So retailer does also play an important role in the supply chain network because he is the one who interacts with the customer. Manufacturer does not interact with the customer. Likewise, wholesaler, distributors, agents, they have no connection with customer at all. So the face of the product is the retailer because he's the one who interacts with the customer. He provides various facilities to make the shopping more convenient, more pleasureful. So retailer performs numerous functions which are extremely important in the supply chain. So the sales sometimes also comes primarily the way the retailers push for the product by giving various offers, various add-on services, after-sale services, financing facilities. Sometimes retailers do offer EMI options, which facilitates sales, right? The retailer provides conducive shopping atmospheres. All these are very important. So these are some of the functions performed by the retailer. Now, one interesting point what you see here is standardization. Stock management is nothing but warehousing. So stock management and storage is a part of the warehousing facility. So both comes under warehousing. Now, what is standardization? Because standardization is an extremely important aspect in the entire supply chain management. The word standardization comes from a word called standard. And standard means certain important features a product should have, such as durability, safety, integrity, which means the product should not be flawed, the product should not be uh, misleading, right? So honesty is important. So durability, safety, integrity, and features such as color, shape, all this are part of the standardization process, right? Now, one important attribute of standardization as well as grading is to ensure quality. So what standardization and grading does, it does provides quality products to the customers. And the role of quality is extremely important. So quality does play an important role. In case the products offered by marketers does not have this feature, quality, right? It does not have proper standards, then of course it's quite difficult to survive in the market.